I want to try and talk about this, if I could, with you in the broadest, least partisan possible way.
Happy to do that.
Piles of capital on the sidelines inside of giant corporations and medium-sized corporations. Buffett's got 150 billion. Apple's got 30 billion. We got lists of the capital on the sidelines. A pile of people don't have jobs. A country with a stack of problems, crumbling infrastructure. We'd love to see an energy transition in this country. You know them better than I. What do you see as the primary barrier to getting the capital, which we have available to us potentially, the problems and the people together in the same room so that we can put the people to work with the money solving the problems?
Dylan, I think the simple answer is confidence. As you know, the polling doesn't show great confidence in Congress. I think that's well earned. And the fact is, if decision makers, whether it be in Congress or in private businesses, have decided to wait to see what's coming down the road, in other words, the uncertainty of what's coming around the road, which falls on all of us, that's not a partisan issue. When we leave out there such uncertainty, then you have businesses with $2 trillion that won't invest it because they don't have confidence in the future that, in fact, that'll be a wise investment. So what they're doing is they're hanging on to cash until they get that signal that things are better. I mean, we could do a lot of things in the very short term to put a lot of people to work.
What?
Well, number one, loan guarantees on nuclear plants. It solves our energy problem. You could have 15 nuclear plants started in the next couple of months if, in fact, the loan guarantee problem would be solved by OMB and the administration.
And what is the barrier? What's the barrier to that?
The barrier are the necessary regulations that need to be issued to make sure those loan guarantees are, in fact, put in place. Right now, we could have 250,000 high-skilled construction workers, member of the AFL-CIO, trade unions, working if we would do that. And I've actually talked with the president about that. I've talked to Peter Orszag about that. My hope is something's going to loosen up on that in the next couple of weeks. The money's sitting there to be invested in that. The businesses are ready to go. The utilities are ready to go. But we've got a problem on the technical side of that. So there's 250,000 jobs in the next year that could be started and moved to 500,000 jobs, great paying jobs that will actually contribute to our economy and also lessen our dependence on foreign energy.
Now, Leo Hendry will tell you we need 22 million jobs.
That's right. And we're not going to get that unless we get our growth up. Right?
Which you need investment, and we need investment to drive that,
and we need investment to do that, so we need confidence to do that. So what's the second thing we could do? The second thing we could do is we have 3 trade treaties right now where we're allowing the countries to import all their stuff in here, but we're still paying duties going into them. If we were to pass those treaties, then what would happen is we would have an increase in our export market to those 3 areas. That's Korea, Colombia, and I can't remember what the third one is. So that's another thing that we could do.
What about China?
That doesn't cost us one job. I think the administration, I'll give them a praise on the back. I think they have played the currency issue right.
Why?
And because I think you're going to see that currency float up as it should, because they are, in fact, I think they're a currency manipulator. They chose not to label them as that, but I think we're going to see the movement and allow them to save face. The fourth thing we could do is we could have an aggressive policy by this administration and this Congress in terms of enforcement of our intellectual properties. We lose hundreds of billions of dollars a year by not enforcing the intellectual properties that should be enforced through the WTO. There's no question about it. The Bush administration didn't do anything on it, and this administration didn't do anything on it. So there's some of our property. The fourth thing we could do is we could incentivize the states, rather than lay off people, is maybe have the same amount of people working at a less rate. We have the unemployment situation that we're dealing with. I believe we ought to pay for it as we extend it, because remember, we're talking about extended unemployment benefits. We're not talking about the basic benefit. The historic average has been the government has paid 50% of that, the states have paid 50%. This recession, the states haven't paid a penny. The federal government has been asked to pay all of it. So if we have $350 billion a year in junk, waste, fraud, abuse, and duplication of the federal government, we could spend that money on taking care of the unemployed.
Sure. So let me ask can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
Is there a way Because it's obvious there's all sorts of wasteful spending, earmarks, and boondoggles inside of the Democratic Party that they protect tooth and nail, and inside of the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
Anybody watching can see that.
Right.
The Democrats love to point to the Republicans, how they're obstructing. We could do this if the Republicans would just work with us. And the Republicans love to point at the Democrats and say, well, if the Democrats were in reality and weren't running these deficits and all this, is it possible to get somebody like yourself or people inside the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, not to say, oh, we'll pay for it by cutting the Democrats' stupid idea, but instead have a Republican say, hey, we'll pay for unemployment benefits, or Democrat, I don't care, by cutting one of our own stupid ideas, so that at least we end the stalemate of finger pointing, which is convenient to the political parties, but as you and I both know, postpones or ultimately denies the solution.
Well, Dylan, that's a good idea, but the debate has been whether or not we will establish a precedent of paying for unemployment compensation that's extended. And the Speaker of the House adamantly refuses to do that. The American people, if in fact we didn't have any waste and we were running highly efficient, in other words, every dollar we spent was of the same value in terms of getting some, then I think she would have a case. But we don't. And we are so inefficient and ineffective in all these government programs that we could easily solve a good portion of our deficit problem, pay for the unemployment compensation, and actually send a signal to the world, which we're going to need to send in terms of our bond ratings, that we are not only thinking about austerity, but we're thinking about resuming the prosperity that this country has had.
And efficiency.
And efficiency.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing the federal government does efficiently is waste money.
Yeah.
And we're really good at wasting money.
Yeah.
And what we need is the American people holding us accountable. Why are we allowing this to continue to happen in times of hard time? They won't ask the question when things are good, but in hard times, there shouldn't be. Take, for example, we own $80 billion worth of buildings we're not using. We got $8 billion we spend a year maintaining those buildings.
Heck,
why are we selling them?
Senator. I'll one up you. We own $2 trillion worth of shopping malls that we bought from the big banks. We may never see the money from. I mean, you and I will go all day on this one. Let's call it a day for the purposes of your schedule and mine.
Okay.
And I will have you back sooner than later. I appreciate your insight and your sharing your thoughts with us, and anything I can do to help create some of the things that you're trying to get done in those incentives, and anything you can do to get the Republicans to point the finger at themselves, and I'll work the Democrats myself. We'll see what we can make happen.
I think that the American people are going to make us do that. I think it's high time that they hold us accountable, and I think it's getting ready to happen.
Yeah, it looks like it. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Tom Coburn. Some exclusive breaking news now, away from policy for a second and to humanity. Former Vice President Dick Cheney. For more on that, with NBC's Jamie Gangel live in Washington. Jamie, what's going on?
Dylan.